as Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
Welcome back to Catch the Moment podcast. It's your host, David Tyree, checking in for another tremendous episode with some good people. We're going to go through their story, get you through your process, your pain point, and man, just talk life, talk the experience to get you to your next moment of success. Here with with some new friends of mine, some compadres, some partners. It's my boy, Jason Bolton and Oliver Wiener, CEO and COO of Fan Arch. Fellas, what's going on? How we doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
What's going on in the Fan Arch? Listen, man, I'm out here in these New York City streets. You see, we live in lavish out here. Nice, nice little table. I don't know what kind of wood grain this is. But nah, man, how y'all doing?
Solid over here, just
solid.
Chilly day in New York City, but nothing too crazy. Just getting a little bit of work done.
Good deal. Good. A little work done. Got a little good grind.
A little bit of work done. It's a Monday, so we're getting the gears turning a little bit. But
yeah,
we're doing all right.
Got to get past Monday. You got to get the grind on. So we like to start every dialogue with a almost like an obvious question, right? So y'all see me. I'm salt and pepper over here with the grades. Y'all a little younger. We're gonna get into y'all journey a little bit. But where were you the first time you saw the helmet catch? What were your thoughts? Was there any story or backdrop that went along with that? So that's for both of y'all. But I'll let you get it first, Jay.
Awesome. So basically when I saw the helmet catch, I was probably 10 years old, and so I was actually at a Super Bowl party with my dad, and I had been a Patriots fan, unfortunately.
Oh, nasty confession.
Yeah, so I watched it, but I was amazed, and I was like, who is this guy? I never heard of him, but that's kind of when I saw the catch, and that led to the craziest comeback I ever seen for a 10-year-old. So
Yeah. You're a little tight, but you had to deal with it.
Yeah, no, okay. I was a little upset. I was a big Wes Welker fan, and I like Tom Brady, but if anyone had to do it, I guess it had to be you.
Yeah, true that. You look a little more like Danny Amendola.
I would say that I'm probably better off not being in any professional sport. Guys like me were never meant to be professional athletes.
Well, obviously it's amazing how the journeys take you full circles. All right, easy O Wiener. What you got for me?
So, we were talking about this earlier, but your catch, that Super Bowl game, was the first football game I ever watched.
First game?
Which is crazy. First football game I ever watched. And obviously sports became my life, which is crazy. But, I think I was either 7 or 8. I'm 22 now. Dope. So I was very young. I knew who Amani Toomer was because one of my friends had his, jersey, one of those,
had a Amani Toomer jersey.
Walmart jerseys or something. But, that was the first football game I ever watched, and you were the highlight of it, which is pretty crazy.
Let's go. Super Bowl 42. It's almost 15 years, baby.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy. All right, so 22 years old. How old are you, Jay?
24.
24. All right, so y'all are some young executives, entrepreneurs, business owners, and you've built up a tremendous platform called Fan Arch. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so basically Fan Arch is a platform that helps professional athletes just monetize their personal and also build their personal brand. And we do that through our personalized fan stores, helping them create a logo for themselves, as well as secondary and tertiary designs where their fans can go and support them. And on top of that, we also help them offer video shout-outs and do a little bit of media stuff on the side for them.
That's fantastic. All right, so, I'm always amazed. And anybody who's, tuned in, you hear me, I'm in fact, there's an emerging generation that are doers, right? Mm-hmm. And I know y'all get so much slack. Y'all probably just like my son. He's probably a Gen Z, whatever, right? It's a lot of conversation around your generation. But, and I beat my son up a little bit, But then there's people like yourselves who are out here doing things and making moves. What's been the biggest obstacle that you've encountered as a young executive and business owner?
For myself, I think the biggest obstacle has been just believing in yourself that what you're doing is right. With our platform, we don't charge the athlete anything. And so, the idea is how am I going to monetize this? Do the people around me think that I'm doing the right thing? And, I've always wanted to be success. And so the biggest obstacle is the time it takes to become a success. I'm 24 and I want to be a 35-year-old CEO who has achieved everything already. And so I think sticking with it in the early days where you're seeing obstacles, it has been the hardest thing, but then you get small things like this where you get to meet one of your idols, and that makes it all worth it, you know? And so I think that's been the biggest thing, just overcoming the obstacles and believing yourself that this is the right path to be on.
So 24 to 22. So you get involved. You bring O in, right?
Yes.
You bring O in as a heavy hitter at 22. So obviously, I'm sure. How long have you guys been working together now?
Close to 3 years, between 2 and 3 years. Jason started the company, and then Jason grew up being friends with my sister, my older sister.
Okay.
At sleepaway camp. The sleepaway
hope you
camp
weren't too close.
Went to. Not too close. Not like that. It was just a friend thing. That'd be too messy. No.
There was a dude named Biz Marquis. He said, "You say he's just a friend." Go look that up. That's old school, but nah. Go ahead, bro.
And so after years of having a very wholesome friendship with my sister, I always wanted to work in sports, and during COVID, I found out school. I was going into my junior year of college, and I found out school was going to be completely remote. Yeah. And my sister had kind of mentioned, like, oh, you can, message Jason about this, like, whatever. And Jason had told me about it a while ago, during probably like 6 months before, at like a New Year's party at my house. And so, I hit him up, and I was like, hey, like, let me intern for you, whatever. We got on a call, and then we were growing a lot. The company was growing a lot. We had a really good rapport. We kind of thought the same, and then now we're business partners and
super dope, bro.
Doing big things, hoping to do bigger things, and
that is super duper dope, bro. I love it, man. Like, you guys, like, number one, so I just think it's dope to celebrate people who are doers, right? Like, two things I'm enamored with, like, just high integrity folks who are doers, and so talk to me a little bit just about the journey. So I think it's Florida, right? Now you're from Florida, but now y'all in the city. What was life like growing up? Like I said, I know you're still fairly, you're still fairly ripe in all these areas. But what was life like growing up in Florida, and how did things come together, and with that transition into business, entrepreneurship, and eventually moving into the city?
Yeah. So my childhood was pretty rough as a kid.
Talk about it.
When I was 6 years old, my mom had passed of a drug and alcohol addiction.
Man,
and then when I was 8, I got diagnosed with leukemia. And that was really the biggest pivotal point in my life, because everyone in my family stopped everything they were doing. Sure. And that led to my love for sports. I was in the hospital for around 7 months straight with the type of leukemia called AML. They told me I had a 5% chance to live. And when I was in the hospital, people gave me memorabilia, and that's got my love for sports. I developed an amazing relationship with my father. And that propelled me to have a different outlook on life, I would say.
Sure.
It was really interesting. After being in the hospital, I had learned, I never knew that I had a 5% chance to live. My dad lived by a mindset that if you don't know your odds, you won't live by your odds. So that 5%, I was 9 years old. I never really thought I was going to die. I was like, I'm sick. I'm going to get through this. Sure. When I get out on the other side, it's going to be awesome. And so coming out of the hospital with a different mindset, a love for sports, I just had the most amazing outlook, best relationship with my father. And then, 5 years later, he actually passed.
5 years later.
My dad passed when I was 15.
You got some blows.
Yeah, but he was an entrepreneur, which led for me to want to be an entrepreneur. He started an accounting firm called Bolton, which is uberly successful in South Florida.
Tremendous.
And that always inspired me to want to do my own thing. I always thought that I was going to join that business.
Sure.
And then at the age of 19, I get an accounting internship. My dad passed, but I got an internship at the firm, and I hated it. The fucking worst thing I'd ever done in my life. My whole life was shattered in front of me, thinking that, man, I thought accounting was a thing, and now I'm like, crap, I had to do something else.
Sidebar, I remember getting my MBA. Accounting in college, I took accounting class in college, turmoil. And I went to go for it again in my MBA, turmoil, okay? It is such a backwards way of doing of math, right? Credits and debit.
They go out of their way to make it difficult.
Oh my gosh, it is retarded.
And the accounting teachers, man, they just want you to hate your life. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how someone can show up every day and smile at you and assign you work that they know you don't understand and just live with themselves. But it is what it is.
Man, you're obviously your story, your personal story of triumph and overcome is pretty powerful in itself. So that has to like set your outlook, right? Like, so from enduring that and overcoming that, we had some backdoor conversations, but how is that working with people? You know, you work with athletes, and I've been an athlete, and there's different temperaments, there's entitlements, and how do you guys manage that, knowing that you actually have endured some things? They probably looking at you like, life is sweet, life is good, you're the owner of a company.
Yeah.
What's that like? How do you internalize that and just work your way through it?
Yeah, for majority of athletes, I don't tell them my story. I don't want them to know. I don't want to use my story to my advantage. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right to me. I want to feel like any other kid who earned it. So I didn't go into my dad's business. And so, I think that athletes are one of the most misunderstood groups of people on the planet. Like their whole life, we talked about earlier, they're almost sometimes treated as gods, but they come from really bad backgrounds. And so they go on the field, they perform, they go back home. You don't know what's going on always.
Sure.
And so that's what gave me my love for sport. And so dealing with the temperaments on a daily basis is tough, but you kind of understand like where it comes from.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish athletes were more grateful for what we did offer, because we're only trying to help always. But I think that as we build relationships with a lot of these athletes, on the first day, no athlete's going to trust you because they've been burned a lot. A lot of people are asking for things for them, but if you have a relationship with an athlete for 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're like family. And so that's what I've noticed with athletes, like that. It's like breaking a shell, and so once you get past that part, things do get a lot better.
That's good. But talk about like how some of your transition into the company, and kind of like how you found your sweet spot. And obviously you mentioned it. You love sports, and what were you passionate about that made you feel so excited about getting into this space?
Yeah, so I grew up obsessed with sports. Baseball was my first love, which transitioned to basketball and football. And those were the business side of sports was just always so intriguing to me, and so I loved trade deadlines and who's gonna go where and like how much money is this guy making and the whole business behind sports. And so I just found a notebook. We were clearing out my grandparents' country house, and it was like a first grade notebook or something. It's like, I'm gonna be the general manager of the New York Yankees, not shortstop of the New York Yankees or the general manager. I wanted to see it from that light. And then I always kind of, when it came to conversations with athletes and about athletes and stuff, I was always kind of like the athlete apologist, if that makes sense. Like someone would be like, I'd be watching a game with someone. We need
a few extra apologists just every now and then.
They would be like, oh, like this guy's playing lazy or this guy's doing that. And I'm like, he's not playing lazy. Like you can't get to the pros unless you're the number one of the number one. And like, I always really felt that part of which, because I think growing up so into it, you kind of just feel a part of it, even though you're not at all, right? You're like, I know where this guy's from. Like, I know what he's feeling. And so that being able to, obviously Fan Arch, like when I first started working with Jason and we started growing, like being able to do something that kind of, epitomizes that is really like, that's what we do, is giving athletes tools for themselves to work off the field and monetize themselves when they're done playing, after they tear their ACL, be that safety net for them when things don't necessarily work out. Because as you know, all their relationships are transactional and is based on how well they're doing on the field. And everyone wants to talk to David Tyree after he makes a great catch. 5-10 years later, if you're not playing football or you're doing something else, they're like, oh yeah, he was cool, or oh, he has that cool highlight, but they're not interested in the person behind what's actually going on. And for both of us, like athletes, we work with them, and so it breaks down that kind of guys in a way once you get to know someone about like being these greats, but we really look up to you guys, and athletes were our first heroes, so being able to
pour something back in there,
pour that into it is huge, and that's kind of like the common thread that kind of keeps stringing us along this journey.
Man, like I said, y'all on your way to an amazing journey, so I could definitely speak to that. It was really easy. Obviously, like we out here, we got Catch the Moment, we got this amazing platform, we're building business, and reality is, most athletes, they have a platform, they may have ideas, but there's no reason for somebody who's 22 years old, 25 years old, 27 years old with no background to have this figured out, right? So, what I saw the opportunity was, well, I don't want to hold inventory. I will hold inventory if it means I have to. But man, I can only got black T-shirts. You know, and obviously drop ship is a thing. There's lots of different vendors. But I saw it as a easy solution. So check out the Fan Arch store, of course. Got to. David Tyree, Fan Arch store. Get you some good DT3 swag. Make sure you give a Fan Arch drop, David Tyree drop. We all good. So with that, man, I totally feel you. And honestly, athletes everybody wants to focus in on one or two things, right? Like, how have you guys, as you talk about building this business, you know, how do you complement each other? You talk about how y'all work well together, right? Typically, you know, if you're good at all the same things, you don't complement each other well. So how has that been as you guys been working together, building this business? How do you guys complement each other to continue to see the growth of the company?
Well, we were just talking about it actually right before we came here. We were eating dinner, and one of Jason's biggest strengths is being so realistic in the moment in terms of what we're doing, whether it's like breaking down something into goals and being able to like, right, really map it out. And so one of my biggest strengths is just like constant unbridled optimism. Like this is like my,
which pisses me off sometimes.
And we'll push against each other, and it kind of like, you know, it kind of like ends up going up because you need somebody to be pushing this like greater agenda forward, kind of like, you know, where this fits into the bigger picture and how we're going to go there, and like, you know, constantly dreaming about we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you need to also be able to find that middle ground. And obviously, you know, we go back and forth, but I think the biggest thing is neither of us we don't get our feelings hurt. So if I come up with an idea and Jason's like, this is bullshit, like this is terrible, I'll be like, yo, maybe it's terrible. Like, I gotta look at it. And vice versa.
Maybe you're right, man.
Yeah, I'll be like, dude, like, maybe that's a terrible idea. And vice versa. You know, he'll come up with something and I'll be like, I'll do this thing with Jason sometimes where he'll give me an idea and I'll just start asking him questions or picking it apart, even if I totally agree with what he's saying. Just to like flesh it out of him. Like, all right, let's go. I'm the dickhead that doesn't like what you're talking about. So, you know, talk to me about it more.
Get him some reps. Get him some reps.
And to that, not being sensitive about it, he won't take that as me being like, you're an idiot or I disagree with you. He's like, okay, like, let's rise to the occasion. You know what I'm saying?
And y'all got some iron sharpens iron up in here. Y'all sharpening the swords. That's fantastic, man. So tell me, like, obviously you got a tremendous platform. I'm gonna tell you what I was most impressed by. You know, the platform is clean. Like there's things, I don't want to say I'm hard to impress, but I have enough experience at this point where I'm like, I know, and I look for solutions. I'm like, and then eventually I look for the best solution, right? So everybody's out here shopping for the best deal, right? So, but what I was most impressed by, I was like, oh snap, they threw my podcast on here. Threw a podcast episode, man. Like, so talk to me about how innovation ideas and how you know, where you see the growth of Fan Arch. You know, you got to drop anything that's super duper crazy. Maybe how do you see this thing materializing down the road?
I think the biggest thing with Fan Arch is that we try to see the fan stores through the athlete's eyes, and we do a lot of free stuff for athletes that, like, putting your podcast on our platform does not provide us any value.
Zero.
It only provides you value. But we understand that if we can provide athletes enough value, they will trust us and they will want to continue to work with us. And while we figure out the future, while we figure out the future, and we can keep you guys' trust, we're gonna figure it out. You know, we're 24, 22. We have a long. Fan Arch is not. It's in its last rendition. My dream was not to start a T-shirt company. Like, if you think that I stayed up at night when I was 10 thinking, man, how am I going to help David Tyree sell catch T-shirts? That is not the case. The case was I want to work with athletes in a way where you guys respected me. Where, when I was in college, I used to get autographs. I'd be the kid who would go outside the stadium and get you to sign all these photos, and I'd throw them right on eBay. Yeah. Because that's how I made my money. Yep. And after a while, I became really bitter with it because I was like, these guys don't like me. They don't want me to be here.
I hated guys like you.
Of course. But
that's fantastic.
He actually brought some stuff with us for you to see.
Oh, yeah? No problem.
Man's got
my podcast on his platform.
It was just the easiest. I lived right next to a baseball stadium. It's the easiest way I knew how to make money. I grew up going to the games, getting stuff signed. Sure. And I saw, like, every time I saw someone sign something, I like dollars immediately.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, David Tyree is going to give me an autograph. That's $20.
Yeah.
If he signs 2, that's 40, 60. And so in college, I was able to save up a large sum of money by just doing that. But I knew it wasn't a long-term goal of mine because I saw the way the other guys in the industry were kind of looked at, and like it wasn't positive, and the athletes saw it as a chore, and like so that's why I wanted to build something that only helped. And so for the future, I think we're gonna keep looking in ways to where how can a David Tyree monetize his brand when he keep finding ways that you can. Memorabilia is one of them. Maybe it's getting podcasts involved. Like who knows? But and as the world evolves, like 6 months ago, we thought NFTs were the future of, and,
fantastic.
And we studied them. I studied NFTs. Oliver's like, dude, this is it. We're gonna make our billions off of NFTs. We're gonna sell David Tyree artwork 1 of 5. It's gonna be crazy. And then the whole market tanked. Yep. And then we're like, we're not doing that anymore. And so you have pivots.
Sure.
Like obviously the world is only growing. Social media is only getting bigger.
Of course.
And monetizing that fan base and capturing it's going to be where we make our money. We don't ever really want to directly charge the athlete. That's not our goal because we want athletes to keep their money. That's the goal. Athletes need to grow their wealth. And that's why we love you guys. We want you guys to be like, I want to see you in 20 years from now being as loved and respected as you are now. And that's
fantastic.
But
you got plans for me. That's what I'm talking about. Fan Arch got plans for you. Hey, listen, Fan Arch got a plan for you, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's my dog right here.
There we go. And it's the saddest thing is seeing someone who you idolized being older and needing money and
it's challenging.
How is that legendary guy who we all cheered for broke?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the goal of Fan Arch, just to keep providing opportunities for guys who we're not trying to work with Steph Curry and Tom Brady. We're trying to work with the sixth man, like the guy who had the helmet catch.
Listen, man.
Kind of
I think they're tangible opportunities. Like even social media and the digital age has made a free agent market more accessible for everyone. Athletes did no business in my era. Like bottom line is we're looking at an emerging athlete with NIL, paid opportunities, obviously through college, now even high school theoretically, because of how massive some of the sports platforms are. So you're going to have so many different opportunities to work with so many different kinds of people. You talked about, I always like to talk about just some of the pain points in the journey. What has been the biggest pain point within the business as you guys were building Fan Arch? You talk about, I'm sure there's difficult personalities to work with. I know that to be true.
Yeah.
I ain't going to have you put nobody out on Front Street today. Yeah. But what was something that was just a freaking, is this Morse code or something?
Yeah.
What did y'all find?
I think the biggest kick in the teeth was when I launched my first fan store, and I won't put the name of the player, but I launched the first store. They had 30,000 followers on Instagram, and I thought, man, they're gonna sell 1 million T-shirts. I'm gonna be rich. I need one client. I'm gonna be fine. We launched a store. I thought the website was broken because I thought they were gonna sell 1,000 T-shirts, and they sold 10. And I was like, wait, this guy's famous. And then the reality check kicked in that famous is not a real thing. And then I launched with a bigger guy, and I was like, 15, whatever, 100.
Yeah.
It never was this insurmountable number where I was like, holy cow, we need to work with thousands of athletes. We can't work with 10, 100. And so people ask, I guess so many names on your platform. It's we need them. And we're doing great. But, it's there's and it's great that there's now with NIL, there's a constant supply of athletes.
Sure.
To work with. But yeah, that was probably the biggest initial hurdle for myself, at least.
It's true. Anything for you, O?
Yeah, I think throughout the journey, even now, it's something we grapple with on a day-to-day basis. How do you decide who's a valuable athlete? Because we'll get caught up in our fandom all the time, right? I'm a huge baseball fan. So, the third starter in the Yankees AAA team.
Man, that was a bar right there. We get caught up in our fandom. That's a real, y'all still young and enjoying this.
Because we're fans, right? And so I grew up a huge Yankee fan. So, the third starter on the Yankees AAA team, to me, is a big deal, right?
That's
It's a bigger deal than maybe a top college recruit that I've never heard of. When obviously, that's a very extreme example. The point is knowing who's gonna provide value to the company, either provide value through a relationship or just, obviously we're here to help all the athletes, but our understanding of who's really provides value in our ecosystem and in the sports world is very skewed. A lot of people will be like, this person's so famous, but like Jason said, fame doesn't necessarily equate to value. Like you'll have a guy with like 2,000 followers on Instagram outsell someone with 200,000 followers. Happens all the time.
It's fantastic.
And so being able to, we've built systems and, lengthy projections and painstaking nights ranking athletes and trying to figure out what this code is. And there's not a secret code. I wish we could tell one of our employees, like, everyone that's over X amount of followers on Instagram is good to go. Everyone that's this level of recruit is good to go. But you have no idea, right? You can never project like who is, but that's definitely like always a common thread with us. And we've gotten so much better at it. Obviously, when NIL happened, we were like everyone, we were deers in the headlights. We admitted to it. Most people were like, I got this all figured out. I've been prepping for this. We're like, okay.
I be laughing at people when they be out here like, of course everybody's an agent now. It's like, hey, listen, man, just strap on and help somebody, man. Stop acting like you're experts.
I know.
As soon as NIL opened up, I think about 1,000 guys who like sports added marketing agent to their bio.
Marketing agent.
Exactly.
It's like, uncles and aunts out from the woodwork saying, I'm going to represent you now. I know I have a degree from, the Culinary Institute, and I know how to use that to help you with marketing deals. Like what?
It's always auntie on the corner. Like.
It's special, man. All right, so here's a thought for both of y'all. Like, up to this point, obviously still, like I said, young emerging professionals, y'all getting some amazing things done. I'd even say ahead of schedule, but barely even in your prime. What has been the defining moment for you as an individual or as executives of business owners?
There's a lot of defining moments that make up, the entrepreneurial experience. And my biggest hurdle has been to acknowledge when something great is happening, because it doesn't always come with a monetary reward or like being here. If I told myself 10 years ago that when I watched that game I'd be on a podcast with that guy, I wouldn't have believed it. But
7 and 10-year-old
10-year-old Jason didn't know what a podcast was, but that's a great accomplishment. I think for myself it was probably when we launched our new platform. We had our old website, which was kind of like randomly put together. I had made it, and then I'm not a coder, and I'm not even a tech guy, but I made it myself. And then for the longest time when we were pitching guys and we had that website, I wasn't proud of it because I knew we were building the background. I was like, dude, the next thing's gonna be way better than this.
It'll just wait.
And no one even knew what I was talking about. It's gonna be great. And then we launched our new platform, and I finally became proud of the product I was offering.
Nice.
And so I think that, and now I look at it and I'm like, oh, we could do so much more. But getting that first official website launch was wow,
that vision that you had in your head, and it finally. It genuinely apart.
Or not even in our heads. There was a while, right? You're building a website, you're designing the visuals of it, and you make it. There's constant iterations. You go, and Jason and I are both perfectionists, so you go back and you're you have a website page, and then you see a feature on a random app or a commercial, and you're like, yo, they're not gonna be better than me. And then we go back, and our software engineers, our designers are like, you guys are crazy. What's going on? And we're like, it's gotta be perfect. We're gonna do it again. And so. But you have the bones. We had the bones of this new website for close to a year. And so we're on it every day. So to us, the old website looks archaic. We're this is Morse code. And so obviously that's not true, but you know what I mean? And so when we were finally able to roll it out, it was a big deal for us. And
that's super dope. That's super dope, man. Super exciting thing. So let me roll. I'm gonna spin this back around a little bit. All right. So what's what's y'all off time? What's downtime? Because I know what entrepreneurship, I know what when you're building something, it's time consuming. Y'all, you got a girl, you watching podcasts all day, you watching sports all day. What's recreation look like for the crew?
Oh, you want to take this one first?
What does recreation look like for the crew?
I hope it's not on Pornhub all day.
No,
I only speak for myself.
We work a lot. We were just talking about this as well.
There you go.
Because we do our gut checks,
Tap in the vein.
it's a hard thing to shut off, especially when all your work's on your phone, right? Because you can be, and your mind can be spinning in so many different directions. Like, I'll be like just sitting down chilling, but what did I used to do to relax? Watch a sports game. Now I still watch the games, or like I'm watching highlights on YouTube, but it's like, oh, there's our client, or oh, this guy did this, or oh, I get an ad for God knows what, you know? And so it's really, really hard to constantly turn off the noise. And I was just talking to Jason. Growing up, I would smoke weed a lot.
Yeah.
And
I smoked more for you by the age I was 24.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. And I've completely stopped smoking weed just like for myself. And I was not like crazy about it. Like I would just smoke at night to like unwind. But stopping doing that made that even harder. You know what I'm saying? It's like that thing that you do to unwind. But you know, I work out a lot, so I'll go to the gym. That's like my thing. Like late night, I'll go to the gym and just like
staying swole with it, dog.
You know, I'm trying. It was a long weekend. So
what I'm talking about, bro.
But going to the gym and like, you know, being able to just decompress a little bit and
What about you, Jay?
For myself, my free time, I don't know, I'm just a pretty standard guy. You know, like
standard. This guy is trying to pass one over on me, man.
Like, I don't know, like I love to travel. Like, you know, like I love I went to Costa Rica a couple weeks ago. That was fun. It was amazing. Like got waterfalls.
Biggest takeaway. Okay.
Biggest takeaway from Costa Rica is, I don't know, they got really a lot of forest there. And it's quite impressive how much forest. I went there thinking I'm going to see every animal in the freaking world. I'm going to see monkeys and sloths and everything, 100 frogs. Like, I went there, dude, it was so hard to see an animal.
Frogs.
Like, not one frog.
One frog.
They had like these night tours you could do, and it cost like $50. And you know, that's not that much money, but you know, I want to see some animals for $50.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so you go up to the guy, and he's like, we're like, are we guaranteed to see any animals? He's like, well, you're not guaranteed. I'm paying $50 to not be guaranteed to see a sloth.
You got to give me something, dog.
And so
poisonous frog or something.
The whole trip, we might have hiked through like 1,000,000 miles of forest, and we saw 5 monkeys. and they were all in the same period of monkey time. Like, you know, like they jumped across, they like waved, and like they were done for the day, the whole trip.
Hilarious. Are you into wildlife in general? Either one of y'all?
I enjoy.
Not particularly.
Not particularly.
I'm a glamper.
So just because I learned this, I think it's fun to share. You know, so have you ever been to South Africa?
I've not.
All right, so I haven't necessarily been to South Africa. Actually, I haven't been anywhere. I got 7 kids.
been there? Neither have I.
But I do have a buddy who has family in South Africa. So we're all aware of baboons, right?
Yeah.
You know what baboons' teeth look like?
I'm not
So
sure.
this is a fantastic story. Baboons have the fangs. Did you know that, like, in South Africa, baboons will run in your house?
Really?
Like, and they're pack animals.
Dangerous, right?
They can be very dangerous because they're not small and they have massive fangs. So that's the ones they open their mouth and they got the big fangs hanging out. So the only way to get rid of baboons is to kill the alpha. I was like, listen, man, you can have anything you want. You want some Captain Crunch, you can have some bologna, you can have anyone. So at least you ain't running no pack of baboons.
Nah,
you straight out there in Costa Rica.
He was chilling.
Now, who would you take in a fight, Oliver or a baboon?
I might have to take the baboons, dog. They roll with the pack. I gotta play the game to win. You know what I'm saying? I gotta play the game to win. All right, so you're originally from. I know you're originally from Florida. Where you originally from?
I grew up here. I grew up in the East.
Let's go, big dog.
Yeah.
In New York?
In Manhattan.
Okay.
East
In
Village.
Manhattan?
Yup. I grew up in
bougie.
Stuyvesant Town. I don't know if you know where that is.
I wonder how the 1% lives, you know?
Bougie. And you made your way up from obviously Florida. What part of Florida?
Palm Beach Gardens. So
Man,
not too bad either.
See, I'm just the gritty kid from the Garden State, man. You know what I'm saying?
Look at you now.
Listen, look at me now, hanging out here with y'all dudes. So listen, man, just tell the audience where we can find more about Fan Arch. Just a little last second plug, and we'll get y'all on the way, man.
Awesome. Well, you can find fanarch.com. Well, find FanArch at fanarch.com. You can find David's store there. You can find Tom Harding's store there.
Drops.
Anybody's store there. You got the merchandise, phone cases, sweatshirts, hoodies, video shout-outs. Need some articles. Whatever you want. We got a YouTube, Fan Arch Co. Instagram. That was the only one available when we made the company, Fan Arch Co. So we're not Fan Arch, we're Fan Arch Co. Don't worry about it. Follow it. That's all you have to do. And that's it.
Follow us. Tap in on Instagram. We have around 1,100 athletes now.
1,100 athletes.
We're growing. We'll have over 2,000 by the end of the year, and the sky's the limit. So if you're a sports fan, if you're not a sports fan, we've got some interesting characters on there. So tap in, and it's all from the athletes. There's nobody on there we've never spoken to on the phone or we don't work with in some sort of, manner. So, yeah, tap in and get after it.
Make sure y'all hit the David Tyree store first. Get some DT3 swag. We're going to keep some fun stuff going. These guys are super dope. And ultimately, man, you guys got a great story. You're overcomers. You find ways to get great done. You have defining moments, even at 24 and 22 years old. And, man, the best is yet to come, man. Thank y'all for kicking it with me.
No problem, man. Thanks for having us.
Hey, listen, man, y'all make sure y'all check in next week for another dope episode. Hit DavidTyree85.com. We got the Catch Camp coming up in Phoenix, Arizona, 15 years to celebrate the helmet catch. There's always something brewing out of Tyree Nation. Make sure y'all tune in next week to the next episode of Catch. Come on.